the first thing it says, and it's in your study guide up there too. Now, we did this before. I want to do the same thing we did last time. I want you guys to take out your phones. I want you to open up this study guide or this table. Actually, go to the big table. Open the table, which is a separate document for chapter 13, the muscles, and have that open because it'll be faster than flipping back and forth between showing the book and going here. Does that make sense? All right, so go ahead and pull it up on the phone. And the first thing it says is we need to know origins and insertions. Now, we've already talked about origins and insertions. We did that twice today already. But we'll read their definition. And, oh, no, we won't if we don't see it. I'll just give it to you again if we don't. Yeah, I don't see it. So you'll probably find it and tell me where it is. Origins are the end of a muscle or a ligament attached to the part that moves less. I see nodding. Good. I like that. The insertion is the attachment to the end that moves more. All right, so that's origins and insertions. You need to know that. And it says you need to know ways to classify skeletal muscle. We have these listed here on 194. And those are out of order. We'll do them right now. They are, what I'm pointing at, or so what I'm about to say, is on the bottom and the left of page 194, okay? Naming of skeletal muscles is what it's called. It's in the left column, wrapping onto the top of the right column. So you want to highlight all these bold-faced terms that we're about to go over them. And I'll give you some examples. You probably already know most of these. These are famous muscles. You can name muscles based on their direction. We've already talked about this a bunch here. You can name muscles based on their direction. Good? Yeah, we'll get back to the prime movers, antagonists. We're about to do that. But you can name them based on direction. We've already talked about the muscles that are, oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to pull it this way. Okay? Muscle that goes over the abdomen, yes? Give me the name. You've heard it a bunch.
Rectus abdominis.
Rectus abdominis. Two names. The rectus tells you the muscle fibers are running straight. That's where that came from. Abdominis is the region where it's happening. Rectus femoris, same thing. The fibers are running straight, that's rectus, and they're over the femur. Does that make sense? Yep, okay. So we could name things based on where they are. We could base their names on what direction the fibers are going. Do we agree? All right. So let's look at some other examples here. We could go with, well, they have them right there. It said circular muscles. So let's go with this one. You've heard about this before. What do we call the eyepiece on a microscope?
Orbis oculus.
Ocular lens. So this is the orbicularis or oculi. Sorry, I started to say the next one. The one around the mouth, orbicularis oris. Okay, oris because oral cavity, oculi for eye, orbicularis. What direction the fibers running? Around. Good. So the name literally tells you where it is.
Around the eye, around the mouth.
Right.
Straight
and we have
abdomen,
others, like
femur.
this one. It's going to be the ones we're going to be doing in just a bit. This is your temporalis. Remember? Frontal, parietal, temporal. The muscle that's there that pulls on the jaw, that's for the retraction. That's because you're pulling that way, up and towards the back. Good? Temporalis. All right? The name tells you where it is. So let's go back to our list. And, oh my, we could name muscles based on the direction of the fibers. We can name them based on the size. Hey, what is this? What is this?
Pectoralis major.
Major, that's what I'm looking for. Pectoralis is the region, major is the size. Good. Let's do it. And guess what? Underneath the major, we have a smaller one in the pectoral region. What's it called?
Pectoralis minor.
Pec minor. Okay, hey, guess what? We have a big muscle here. It's named the gluteus maximus. It's the biggest of the ones in the glutes, right? Guess what? We have a minimus, and in between them, we have a medius. Does that make sense? Okay. They're based on where they are and how big they are in this case. So, back to our list. We can name muscles based on the direction. We can name based on the size. The next one is the location. I'm not going over this. We already did a bunch of details by accident because they were the second half of the ones we just did. You with me? All right. The next one is the number of origins. Model back there for leg, model up there for arm. That's probably what I should have pulled. But you already know. Give me the full name. What is this?
Biceps brachii.
Biceps brachii. It's in the brachial region and it has two heads. Good? So biceps. Right here, the one that does extension, the one that's the opposite, the antagonist of the biceps, is the triceps. Exactly. Triceps brachii has three heads. No, not rocket science. We understand it, right? The name tells you what you're looking for. Are we good? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we've got that. There we go. Location of the attachments. One of my personal favorite muscles. We've talked about this a bunch. I honestly think that should be a little more that way, but yeah. Okay, right here, we have a muscle that's named for where it's attached. One on each side. Two attachments here, one to the manubrium of the sternum, one to the mastoid process on the skull. Good? So manubrium of the mastoid process of the sternum, clavicle, those two are on this end of the muscle. Up here is one attachment point for both pieces at the mastoid process. So you know the attachment places. Tell me, which one is the origin? Does the less moving?
Mastoid. Nose.
You've got it right.
On the clavicle.
The clavicle. We can move it a little bit. Okay? The manubrium, we can move it a little bit. Everybody put your hand right here. Now I know when I have you deep breathe, you're going to feel out from the intercostals. We'll get to that. Put your hand here though and breathe deep. Do you feel a little bit of upward movement? Sternocleidomastoid muscle. It's named origin insertion, sternum and clavicle, and then the insertion is the mastoid. And what does it do? If you contract both of them, well, let's do one. This one contracts. It's going to turn the head that way. This one contracts. It's going to turn the head that way. Both of them contract. You're either going to pull the head down, or if these muscles stop that from happening, you're going to raise a little bit on the chest. Does that make sense? Just a little bit. Is that clear to everybody? All right. So we can name muscles based on where they're attached. And the sternocleidomastoid is a great example. If you name a muscle for where it's attached, the origin name comes first. Write it down. That's been a test question. Yeah. You know, like two options, origin or insertion, and then a lame joke, that kind of joke. Yeah, that type of a question. All right. So you've got that. Muscle shape. Muscle shape. This one we can do really well. The second one in their example we can't. See this big triangular shoulder muscle? Yes? Your deltoid. Why is that called a deltoid?
Greek delta.
Yes, the Greek letter delta is triangle shaped. It's just that it's an upside down delta. But the Greek letter delta, like all the fraternities that have delta in their name, it's a triangle, right? Right? Okay, so the deltoid is that shape. Now, I'm going to show you here, we've got a little bit. Most of it's cut away to show the spine. So I'm going to pull this one up on the PC to give you a picture. First, we're going to do some doodling over here. I'm going to draw a shape, and you tell me what it is.
Square.
Good. Now, I'm going to change it slightly. It's still going to have four sides.
Rectangle.
Four corners. All the corners 90 degrees. Say it again.
Rectangle.
You're right. Now I'm going to change it again. It's still going to be four sides. It's still going to have four corners, but they're not right angles. You with me?
The trapezium.
Yep, that's where I'm going. That shape is a trapezoid. And if you remember that, it doesn't seem scary or exciting. Yes, we could call it that, but I'm trying to use the word they use in the anatomy.
No, I'm just saying
Okay.
a diamond is a trapezoid.
Yep. So, trapeze, I should have done that. And trapezium images. Why did it not take it? Did I not hit enter? Oh, trapezium muscle. I must have misspelled it. There we go. There we go, trapezium muscle. And here, would you agree, it's not quite the same? Why was I having trouble? But it's pretty similar, yes?
Yes.
Four sides, you've got two corners that are a little broader than 90 degrees and two that are a lot narrower than 90 degrees, a lot smaller than 90 degrees, yes? So those are examples of muscles that are named for their shape. Good? What do we have left? Action. You could name a muscle for what it does. I talked about one of those earlier when I said, oh, well, if you remember that the thumb is the pollex, remember? The abductor pollicis longus is, oh, it's that long one that pulls the thumb away from the hand. Yeah. So it's named for what it does. A lot of the muscles that do abduction, adduction have that in their name. A lot of the muscles that do extension or flexion have that in their name. Are we good? You know, digital extensors, digital flexors, that type of thing. All right, so we've beaten up the second half of 194. Let's talk about the top of 194. If you look at the top of page 194, it's talking about prime movers, agonists, synergists. There's a lot of vocabulary. But once you get into it, it's pretty straightforward. The prime mover is the main muscle doing a thing. Good? So our biceps brachii is the main muscle flexing the elbow. Good? Everybody good? All right. So it's also called an agonist. I don't know why they have to have two terms, but anyway. The concepts are nice, they had to name it twice. But the prime mover makes a thing happen, produces a particular movement, also called an agonist. Now the opposite of an agonist, this would be a more familiar word, is an antagonist. You know, you're watching a movie, the protagonist is trying to get something done, and the person who's stopping them is the antagonist. Well, the biceps is the prime mover for elbow flexion, and the triceps, which would fight that if it contracted, is the antagonist for elbow flexion. Does that make sense?
Does that mean that's flipped for elbow extension?
Yeah. But I was about to say that. Just watch this. You have to have a specific action in mind before you decide. So we'll go, sort of say specific. We'll go for action. And then we'll go for prime mover. And then we'll go for antagonist. It's where that's an A. So, if our movement is elbow flexion, elbow, I'm just going to write flex, elbow flex. The prime mover will be the biceps brachii. Good? All right, and the antagonist will be the triceps brachii. By the way, quick question. Oh, brachii has an R. Quick question. Why do we not on a test just put down biceps? Why do we want the whole thing, biceps brachii?
Because there's more than one biceps.
Yes, there's a two-headed muscle in the leg that's named a biceps. Biceps femoris. Does this make sense? Everybody good? Yeah? All right. But if our action, instead of flexion, if we were extending the elbow, let's write it down. Actually, I should have left space. I'll write it down lower. Hold on. I'm going to put elbow flexion down here.
Extension. Or are we?
Oh, yeah, like extension, yes. So elbow extension, and we're gonna have the triceps. You know this already, you've seen it already. If we have this muscle get shorter, the tendons are pulling on the radius and almost straightening the arm out. Good, good. All right, so triceps brachii and biceps brachii. Now, I know you guys have this. This is really simple, but we're going to add a little bit to it. You ready? If a muscle has a helper muscle that can help it get a job done, and they work together to help that job happen, we have a name for it. Okay? I'll give you an example before I give you the name of the category. The triceps, the biceps has a helper. The biceps brachii, there's a brachialis muscle. You with me? Okay? So the brachialis helps the biceps. One of the things it does is help you flex. Good? Good?
Good.
We have to have a name for it though. We don't call it helper, so we call it a synergist. We're sat now trying to talk like business majors. Oh, and we work in synergy with yeah. So a synergist is a helper. Does that make sense? Are we good with that?
Is it always that relationship, or is there times where the biceps brachii is the synergist for the brachialis?
Not that I'm aware of, but the brachialis, it's much smaller and it's not moving in one plane. That's the
So
If
it's
you were
just a
doing-
smaller muscle that
see-
only does the same thing that the biceps does?
in this case, yeah, but the brachialis, it has a little lateral movement to it is what I'm getting at. And that has nothing to do with the biceps at all. Does that make sense? If you're looking at one motion, then yes, you have the does the sun go around the earth or the earth go around the sun silly question. If you're looking at just one motion. But you understand that if you're looking at the overall what's happening, it's easy to say what's the big main muscle and what's the little helper muscle. Good? Yeah, so synergist. Now, let's read their definitions instead of my yammering, the way they said it. And then we'll talk about fixators, okay? So prime mover or antagonist is the main thing to get the job done. Or agonist. The antagonist is the one that fights it, that opposes it. Antagonists are prime movers in their own right. That's exactly what you asked before, Alex. The triceps can be a prime mover on its own if we change the function to extension instead of flexion. Good? Now, a synergist aids the action of the antagonist either by assisting with the same motion or reducing undesirable movement. Okay, so I gave you the example of the brachialis. There is another type of, let's go back into geometry again. You agree we just talked about trapezoids, so we're a little geometry-ish here. Let's do a little bit more. So, if we are looking at, we used this shape before. I know I'm not great at art, but this is roughly a square. Would you agree? Well, let's forget about that for a minute. Let's draw that other one that I do was similar. What was this one? It's a rectangle. A rectangle. Define a rectangle. What's it have? Four sides, 90-degree angles. Yes? Good. I'm going to draw something with four sides in a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angles, all 90 degrees. Would you agree that a square might be a specialized subset of a rectangle? It has all the rules of rectangleness, but it has one additional rule. Sides are roughly similar in size or identical in size. Good?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's what they're trying to describe that's going, I'll leave that up for a second, but that's what they're trying to describe in this wording. A synergist and a fixator. The fixator is like the square. It's a special case of synergist. A synergist is a muscle that makes a thing happen. Or sorry, that helps a thing to happen. You with me? So a synergist helps something happen. Let's even label it. Great. A fixator, and I don't know why I'm nervous or I'm freaking out. I'm not going to give you an example right off the top of my head. One of the muscles that helps hold the humerus in place. Maybe think the pec minor. I guess I did just give you an example. But you remember how this, when it contracts, it's going to be pulling the arm down. The arm can't go up, yeah? Okay, so say we pull the arm down until we hold it against the side. It's not moving. Shoulder's not moving. That's important because the biceps, we keep talking about as an elbow flexor. It messes with the shoulder too because it crosses two joints, not one. So here's the question. If you send a signal to your biceps brachii and no other muscles, which joint is it going to move? This one or this one? The answer is both. Unless a fixator fixes one of the joints in place, then all the contraction goes into the other one. Does that make sense? So, for elbow flexion, because it holds the shoulder in place, that fixator is going to be a helper, a synergist, help you with the elbow flexion. Does that make sense? But you're going to need to know definitions for synergist, agonist, antagonist, prime movers, and fixators. Are we good? I feel like we've got them. Everybody okay? Yep. All right, so we've got that. Now, let's actually go to the big list that is on the top of the page, the one that everybody should have on their phone. You guys have it pulled up? I heard one yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, good. I hear lots of yeses. I'm happy now. Well, this list is actually pretty easy. The first part, muscles of the head and neck, because we've done most of these already in other examples. The first muscle on the list is the temporalis. Well, it's by the temporal bone. It's right here. Good, good. You can see it sticks up a little bit. I'm not saying it doesn't attach to the parietal tube, but the temporal bone is the main thing that the temporalis is attached to there, on one end. On the other end, it's the mandible. So, origin insertion, and it's named for the thing that, would you agree that we would probably move our mouth a lot more than we move our head? Yeah, so it's named for the origin attachment. And it does, you can see the direction of the muscle fibers. When it contracts, it will raise the jaw, but it will also be pulling it back. Does that make sense? The buccinator raises the jaw, but it doesn't pull back. The temporalis retracts. Good? Yep, okay. So the first thing on our list is the temporalis, and we only need a function. We don't need origin insertion. You've got the function. Are we good? Let's move on. The next one was our orbicularis oculi. You need to be able to recognize it, just like all of these, on a model, on a picture, but I think you've got it, because the name tells you what it is. It tells you it's the around the eye muscle. Good? Good?
Yep.
What does it do? Blinking, squinting, closing your eyes. Good? Good? Yeah.
What's the muscle that opens the eyes?
Excellent question. I'd have to look. I don't know. Okay. It may be. We'll talk. We'll do supposition later. We'll actually look it up. Moving on. Okay. The next one that you need to know here, orbicularis oris. You already know it's the around the mouth muscle. It's in the name. So what's that responsible for? Closing your lips, kissing, whistling. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
All right. The next one, you don't have to know the origin and insertion, but it's pretty easy to tell based on the name what one end is attached to. It's called the zygomaticus. What bone do you think it's attached to?
Zygomatic.
Zygomatic bone. This is attached to the bone here. The other end is attached to the muscle, the orbicularis oris. When you smile, when you pull the corners of your lips up, you're contracting the zygomaticus. Good, good. All right. Hey, we're halfway through bones of the muscles of the head and neck that you need to know. That's not bad. But now we're at origin and insertion. Now remember, we're not doing the bony landmark, we're just doing the bone. The masseter is also attached to the zygomatic bone and to the maxilla. Okay, that's on the origin end. The insertion is on the mandible. Good. I'm going to pull up for you guys a picture, but I can show it to you right now, but this doesn't have, it's like, it's cut away. I guess I can't show you. I'll pull up the picture, but right there is what we're talking about. Let me pull the picture for you. So, oh, and I'll tell you right now, on our list is the masseter, and the one underneath it is the buccinator. You see that? Okay. I have used questions in the past asking you to tell the difference in those two muscles. So you need to know them both, know what they do, be able to recognize them on the same picture, same model. Are we clear? Know where they're located, which one's superficial, which one is deep. So the masseter is right here. You see it? Oh, thank you for telling me that. We'll come right back. I can make this bigger than the time it takes for you to get there. Let's blow it up. There. Our masseter is the one attached to the zygomaticus, and a little on the posterior and very, very inferior. It's attached to the back of the mandible. Good? Yes?
Yes.
Masseter. Now, if you look below it, deep to it, you see the buccinator. You see that? Okay? So let's talk about the masseter first. It causes mastication, chewing. Fancy anatomy word for chewing. It causes you to bring the jaw upward so the teeth come together. Good? That's the masseter. Now the buccinator, everybody, act like a little kid who's trying to kiss somebody. Okay, you know the cheeks tucked in like that? That sucking, that's buccinator. This is your buccal cavity. It's another name. The space between the cheeks is the buccal cavity. I knew you were going to say oral cavity, also true, but this is your buccal cavity. Talk to me later if you want to know what it has to do with sharks. No, I'm not kidding. It's a real thing. Okay, but you see the buccinator below the masseter, yes? And you know right here, the buccinator, you need to know it compresses the cheek. It's what we move when we're sucking. Good? All right. Now, sternocleidomastoid, you would agree we did that, yes? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right. And it's attached on the origin to the sternum and clavicle because that moves less than the head. It's attached on the insertion to the temporal bone and the occipital bone. What part of the temporal bone? Well, probably the mastoid process. It's in the name, yes? Okay. What does it do? We talked about it. Contract the right side, you move the head to the right. Contract the left side, move the head to the left. Contract both, and you can bring the head forward or pull on the rib cage. Good? Yes? All right. Splenius capitis. All right? This is basically doing the opposite, the backside version of the body, the posterior side, back of the neck, version of the sternocleidomastoid. So again, our models have the muscles cut away. So let's do... All right. Here you go. Yep. Yep, everybody feel comfortable with this?
Can you say the pronunciation one more time?
I believe it's pronounced splenius capitis. That's what I'm looking for. Did everybody see it good? Yep. You can understand how. Let's read over the things you need to know. It's not asking origin insertion, but it's asking what it does. So I don't think it was asking. Oh no, no origin insertion. What does it do? As a group, extend or hyperextend the head. What are we talking about? Extend the head or hyperextend the head. You're with me? Yep.
Yes.
So if both of them go, that you extend the head. One side or the other, you could cause either, you could cause turn the head, like you contract this one right here, turns the head, but also it's going to pull on the shoulder, right? So shoulder will come up a little, unless you use something to stop the shoulder movement. That would be a what? I'll take two answers here, either one.
A fixator?
A fixator, which is a special form of a?
That's
Yes, synergist. Very good. They're working in synergy. Good, good. Yep. All right. Everybody solid with that?
On the posterior view in the book, I think it's not labeled, but is that what it is?
I'm looking at page 184. What page are you looking at?
197.
Okay, let me flip to it.
It's not labeled, but it looks like what you're showing.
199 is labeled. But looking at, you said you're looking at 190, what?
197. I don't
Okay.
think it is actually.
All right, no. Yeah, okay, look at page 199, and you can see the splenius capitis there. It's not one of the most superficial. Let me do this. Instead of me saying, oh, you can see it there, and no one can see in this video.
It's right here.
It's coming. That's why I said I wanted you guys to pull up so you don't have to flip back and forth. I should just sit here. But here's your splenius capitis. You can see the fibers running this way, coming around. Good? Yep.
Thank you.
All right, no, that's an excellent question. Hey, we are through muscles of the head and neck. Not all the muscles of the head and neck, but the ones you need to know for this class. How much time do we have left? Oh, God, we're great. You want to start on the muscles of chest, abdomen, back, or do you want to fidget with the joints?
Review a little bit.
What?
Can we review a little bit?
Review muscles or review joints?
Quick rerun of what we just went
Oh,
over.
yeah, fine. What we just did. Okay, let's do this.
Quick crash course.
Yeah, quick crash course. You guys ready? All right. The first thing on your list, the temporalis. It's this one that's attached to the temporal bone. Good? And you can see on your list, it raises the jaw and retracts it a little bit. Good? Because the fibers run that way. All right, the next one on your list, the orbicularis oris. It's the one going around the eye. Good? Squinting, blinking, closing the eye. Everybody solid?
Yep.
All right, the next one, the orbicularis oris. It's around the oral cavity, around the mouth. Good? If you are puckering, whistling, things like that, you're using this muscle. Good?
Okay.
All right. The next one, the zygomaticus. Can't see here, we're not cut away, but it's going from here down to here. I'm going to pull a picture if we've got one. No, we're going fast. I already told you the distal end is pulling on the corners of the mouth. That's what raises them when you smile. Yes? Yes, the zygomaticus. The next one on our list is the masseter, is the main muscle of mastication. Fancy word for chewing. It's the one going from here to here. Okay? And when that contracts, it brings the jaw up. There's no retraction, there's just elevation. Good? Oh, here. Oh, you got it? You're okay? All right, good. So the masseter, oh yeah, because it's right here. The masseter, when it contracts, it raises the jaw upward, but there's no retraction to that at all. Okay? Brings the teeth together for chewing. And where is it attached? To the zygomatic bone, the front of the zygomatic bone here. See? And to the mandible down here. Good? All right. So, buccinator is the cheek muscle. Everybody make a sucking motion. You just move your buccinator, some people say. That's right here going under the masseter. Good?
Sounds like an overpriced burger.
Yeah, but buccinator involves sharks. Much better. And you didn't make a reference to Trinidad and Tobago. You would have been extra clever if you did that. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so buccinator, we did that. Sternocleidomastoid. It's in the name, so you definitely know the origins and insertions. Origins, manubrium of sternum, clavicle. Good? Insertion, temporal bone and occipital bone. Let's be very specific. Mastoid process on temporal bone and into the occipital. Good? Good? All right. That's origins and insertions. What does it do? Move you to the right, move your head to the left. Contract them both. Flexion. Good? Good? All right. That's your sternocleidomastoid. The splenius capitis, this is on the back side, doing the same thing. It's not superficial. You can see the fibers running. I'm talking about this here. You can see that little window between the muscles. You see in there you have fibers running like this. And they come down and wrap around onto the back. Are we good?
Yes.
If you look at it from the back, I'm gonna... Yeah, that's a lousy picture. I'll pull up the one that I had. There we go. You can't see it, so I'm going to it. What I was going to say is you'll see they come together in like a V shape. They meet down a few vertebrae down on the spine. Good? Yep. All right, so we're past the cervical into the thoracic there. But it's that V on the back. If you contract the one on the right, you turn the head to the right. Contract the one on the left, turn the head to the left. Contract them both. You will take the head and extend it or hyperextend it. Everybody good? There's your crash course. We've been through it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a good question. All right, now let's start doing muscles of the chest, the abdomen, and the back. Again, we're going to start with one that we've already talked about today because we were going over name for regions of the body. This is our pectoralis major. Are you with me? It's the big muscle in the pec region. Right. It's the one that we had on the test already, and some people got mad at me about it. I picked it because I thought it would be easy. Most people have heard of this muscle already. And I said, what is this? Not the mammary. You remember when people were freaked out about it? This is your pectoral region. It's another name for the chest region. And that's your pec major. Good? All right. Now, what does it do? First we'll just say it. So where is it attached? The sternum, the clavicle, the ribs, and also attached to the external oblique muscles. We'll get to that. Okay? But it's attached to the muscle. That's the origin. The insertion is on the humerus, but over there. Not right at the head, but just a little down. Good? Good? Okay. Attached to the humerus. What does it do? Arm flexion and forced inspiration. So we'll take each one of those separately.
It gives your arms ideas. It gives them ideas.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. What I was going to say is, remember we talked about arm flexion? I know that sounds weird because of the way that it was in the diagram. But imagine these muscle fibers gathering there and pulling across on the head. They're going to do that. Does that make sense? They're going to pull up. Okay? So you got a little up. They're attached high. All right. Then forced inspiration. If you use fixators to hold the arm in place and you contract it, it is pulling the chest like that. Do you agree? If the arm's not moving and it's contracting, you're pulling the chest, you're increasing the volume so the air goes in. Now, the big muscles for forced inspiration, forced expiration are going to be the intercostals. We'll get to that. And the internal intercostals, when they contract, stuff moves in. All right. But we'll get to that. So we did pec major, now we have pec minor. Good? Right here. Your pec minor, you don't need to know the origin of insertion for this class. I'm not saying you won't need to know it eventually in medicine, you probably will. But for this class, you don't need to know the origin of insertion. But it pulls the scapula forward and downward. What on earth am I talking about? Well, if you're attaching here, and it's here, and you pull, it's going to want to move that way. Does that make sense? Okay, so the forward, it moves it to the anterior. The downward, well, you took the chromia there, you're good, good. All right. So we got the minor. Now serratus anterior. These are the kinds of muscles I like. I like things that are obvious, things that have great names. Anybody ever eaten a steak with a steak knife? Is the blade smooth or does it have little teeth on it?
Serrated.
Serrated, exactly. You weren't a step ahead of me. Someone who's not named Alex. What are the names of those little teeth? Serrations. You kind of see some serrations?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and what direction are those fibers pointing? To the anterior. You with me? You with me? Okay. So, serratus anterior. What does it do? Abduction and raising of the arm. Huh? Well, these are the origins. The insertion is up there. Humerus. Good. Good. I mean, we're not having to memorize it, but if you are pulling if you have all these attachments here and then you're pulling here, say they attach right there, you'll make the arm move away. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right, so we got our serratus anterior. External and internal intercostals. This, messy, messy, messy. I just wish they had different names. But we'll do the easy part first. Intercostal means in between the ribs. The ribs are the costal surfaces. Good? All right. Now, your external, elevate the ribs, aid in inspiration. Oh my God, why did they name it that way? It's so confusing. It's not. I'll make it easy for you. Are you ready? When you think about what they do, before you answer, I want you to think about what they do to the rib. Are you with me? The external are the ones to the outside. Does that make sense? They go from this rib down and around to that rib. Good? When the external contract, they pull the ribs externally. Does that make sense? Which increases the volume, which makes the air come in. Okay? So I know your initial reaction is, oh my God, the external causes the in, and oh my, it's so confusing. Take it in steps. The external moves the ribs upward and externally, which creates more room, and then you breathe in. Are you with me? Okay. Well, you probably guessed. The internal are between the ribs, and those muscles are further into the rib cavity, further into the body cavity. There we go. You with me? And they run like this and hook onto the ribs. When they contract and get shorter, they're going to bring the ribs in. Good? Let's say it again. The internal intercostals are going to bring the ribs in, down and in, which will force the air out. So we just took what made you initially, or at least it made me initially when I learned them, oh my God, those names are so backwards, how will I ever learn it? Just add one step before you answer. Remember the way it moves the ribs. The external intercostals move the ribs out, and the internal intercostals move the ribs in. Are we good? Does that make sense? And you just accidentally learned origins and insertions on the way. Attached to the top rib and then underneath like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so we've got those. Oh, the rectus abdominis.
It's a straight abdomen.
Yep, straight down over the abdomen. But we need to know more than that. We need to know what it does. Okay? It's when it goes straight down, we're talking this. It goes straight down. It goes all the way down and it's attached to the pubic bone. Good? Good? So, the pubic bone is the origin, because we'd agree there's not much flexion to the pubis, at least not normally. You've got how much give? Fibrocartilage. Yeah. So
Probably
it's
not
attached there. That's the origin. The insertion is the sternum and the ribs. And you might say, oh, well, those don't move much either. But they do if you're doing crunches, right? Right? That bend right there, that is the six-pack muscle. You've heard me say it many times. Well, how do you get a six-pack? How do you work that? You do your crunches, you do your sit-ups. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's your rectus abdominis. Now, that one you need to know the origin insertion, the pubic bone and the ribs. The external obliques, the internal obliques, you don't need to know the origins and insertions. You need to know what they do, but it's pretty simple. If we've been talking about people trying to work out, okay, trying to get their six-pack, they probably also, in working out, have tried to get, think 50 Cent, think Fergie. Now those folks, they worked out, got really toned. They had what some people call the cut, the diagonal on the muscle. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Okay. How do you get that? You're doing knee-to-knee crunches, am I right? Yeah? You what? No, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not correcting you.
Oh, it'd be fine if you did. I'm not
No,
freaking
I
out
just-
about it. I think we've already demonstrated. I'm willing to say I don't know. It doesn't hurt my ego.
No,
All right. Anyway, but flex and rotate the internal and external oblique. This will be easier to see on one of the other models than here. The external were easy there. But let's look right here. Do you see that we have right here diagonals? Yes? Here we also have diagonals. You might, if you're not paying attention, you'll be like, oh, they're in the same direction. No, those are opposite directions. This is medial, and this is away from the medial. Got it? Got it? What you have is the external ones and the internal ones. Got it? Okay? So they both do flexion, but in different directions. Are we good? Yeah. But that's as much detail as you need for that. Now, latissimus dorsi. Well, dorsal, yeah, dorsal means we're going over the back. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay. And latissimus sounds a lot like?
Lateral.
Thank you. You're making me feel really sad.
It's under
I
the
just got to tell
trapezius.
you, I've been telling you guys that Tuesday, Thursday did super awesome on the last lab test. Don't let me down. All right. So let's look again before I move on, because I'm thumbing around looking for it anyway. Moving back to the picture. Okay, yeah, well, I was, oh, okay, I can put it back. I was going to look for it here, but here in the lab book on 206, that's where we had our external obliques going from the midline of the body up to the hip. Yes, up to the crest. And underneath that, we're going to have the internal going the other way. Yes? Yep. Pretty good? All right. So we got that. Now, here we go for lat dorsi. And reading glasses would be good. Okay. Below the trapezoid. Here's the below the trapezium. Yes? There's the trapezium. Below that we have back muscles, hence dorsi. And those back muscles wrap around to the lateral surface. This would be where they originate, and they're going around the lateral surface. You with me? Okay, so they're running like this. This is part of your trapezius. This is part of your lat dorsi. Are we good?
It's the lower back.
All right, yeah, mid to low. All right, so we've got that, and now, oh, this is one of those perfect names. Spine, well, you know what it does. It works on the spine. Erector spine, it tells you exactly what it does.
Straightens the
It
spine.
helps you hold your spine upright, exactly. Hold your spine erect. It'll
Is
take
one an
this.
A or an E?
What?
Is this one an A or an E? I
Uh,
can't see it from an angle.
Oh, you mean the spelling?
Yeah.
In your list, it's an AE, which is a Latin-y thing to do.
Okay, okay. Let me-
Yeah, an A followed by an E. I'm just looking at the list here.
Very well. I just can't see it from my.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. You keep seeing me throw my reading glasses back on and off. Last semester, before they cut out my lenses in my eyes, I was blind. Like I would have people reading to me and they'd say, oh, it's this on the model. I'm not kidding. But now I can see. You're fidgeting. How much time do we have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, let's see. Right here. Okay, we did the deltoid. You already know the deltoid. It's the upside down triangle, right? The upside down delta. So is attached. The origin would be the clavicle, the scapula. The insertion would be the humerus, and it does abduction of the arm. That's easy to understand. You contract these fibers. Got it? Got it? Yep. Okay. So we got that. The trapezius. Hey, we did that. It was the kite shape. Yes. Yes. Piece of it right here. Okay. So the origin, occipital bone, cervical and thoracic vertebrae attached here. The insertion is it's saying the scapula and the clavicle. So inserted up here. This is watch. Up for that'd be the occipital, and then the scapula and clavicle. Good. So all of that can be done. Now we obviously have helper muscles. We have what's that S word?
The synergist.
Synergist, yeah. But you've got the function, yes? Okay, I was hoping we'd be able to get through all of the torso ones. We did not. We're out of, if it was really honest 3 minutes and you weren't bluffing, we're out of time. We're good. All right.